Yes, we've started the live video now, and really looking forward to our guests for the live session. I'm filling in for our ever zesty and dynamic moderator for live sessions, Zen. Zen unfortunately is not available this weekend. So I thought I'll fill in, and we have a fantastic 1 hour lined up for you. And people who are going to watch us a little later on IGTV. Uh, I won't say that you're missing out on something very, very different. I think a lot of platforms, a lot of wonderful platforms are doing a great job in bringing people from the community to come forward and talk about various topics related to the children's space altogether. And today's guest is someone who's not very different or not unknown to this area. For the people who've tuned in for the first time on live today, live Kids Okay Please Live is a regular feature. We have a guest now, the zesty mommy, Namita here. I'm gonna get her to now. Waiting for her to join in, and while she comes in, Kids Okay Please Live is a weekly feature again.
Hi,
Hi Namita. Am I
hi,
audible?
thank you so much for inviting me on this forum. And it's indeed amazing. I've been seeing the kind of work y'all are doing, and indeed great that I can be on this platform.
No, thank you so much for taking some time out. I know the week for you is generally very busy. That's what our team has told us, that you don a lot of hats, and you're doing so much work during pandemic and otherwise as well. Let me. It's officially now 4:02. A lot of people are tuning in as we go ahead. Hi Karan, hi Nupur. We have the zesty mommy here, Namita. I'll take the privilege of obviously introducing her, and telling everyone who's tuning in a little more about you before we start the discussion. Let me quickly introduce Dr. Namita Shanai Vadavkar. I hope I've got the name right.
Yeah,
In from
that's fine.
Thank you. She's a pediatric occupational therapist with 13 years of experience. She holds a bachelor's and a master's degree in occupational therapy from the prestigious St. GS Medical College and KEM Hospital. She's a specialist in developmental disabilities and holds a fellowship degree in neurodevelopmental disabilities. She's an avid researcher in the field of pediatric occupational therapy with numerous research papers to her name. She regularly conducts workshops on improving quality of care in the profession, and her special interests include transdisciplinary and interdisciplinary care interventions with special focus on early interventions. Having said that, she's also very popular on Instagram by the handle at the Zesty Mommy. And you can go and check out all the photos and videos of the work that she's carrying out. So welcome. Good afternoon once again, Dr. Navita. I'm going to address you through the show as that, and try and keep it formal as well as informal with you. But
Sure.
absolute pleasure to have you here. And a big hello to all the people who are joining in. Please keep your questions ready and keep throwing them at us while we are going ahead and while we get to know Dr. Namita a little more. Um, so to begin with, just to tell our audiences and Dr. Namita, I am filling in today for Zen, who's our regular moderator. I happen to
Okay.
be the small little co-founder for Kids Okay Please. And I thought that it's very important that we do something for our children. And that's where this struck me and my co-founder, Karanjan. And that's where Kids Okay Please was born last year. Having said that, Kids Okay Please Live is an ongoing platform where we invite guests like yourself, professionals, parents, people who are adding so much to the entire kids ecosystem, to come and enlighten us with a lot more that's going on. And live session gives us an opportunity to probably see what kind of work you all are doing, interact with you all at a larger level. So over to you, Dr. Navita, if you could quickly tell our audience, apart from the illustrious, welcome that we've tried to give you for the kind of work you're doing. Who is Dr. Namita, and what does she do? What's been the work like over the last 2 months, and generally an introduction of herself.
So, apart from the professional front, of course, it's been a very different journey. So, post the pandemic, life has dramatically changed for all of us. And what, as a professional and as a mother, so my daughter is, she's about 4.5 years of age. So, catering to both the professional front and the personal front has been slightly difficult. But at the same time, you also need to remember that there are a lot of people who are doing a lot for us, and I think it's give back time. So we need to contribute towards the most important group of people in our country, and that is children, because that is by far the most patient group and the most religiously following rules group in the entire pandemic, which we have noted, because children have been amazing these 2 months. I mean, they've had their share of getting angry, and I wouldn't term it as tantrums, because believe me, imagine being in a house for nearly 3 months. You can hardly go out. Maybe they must have stepped out if a parent is the single parent, or just a nuclear family where the parents are unfortunately forced to take the child out. But I don't think otherwise any parent has ever taken their child out. And with all of this is the time when children need the kind of stimulation. So my focus during the entire pandemic has been ensuring to deliver the maximum kind of services which we can for children. So the major area has been conducting a lot of online sessions and workshops. And what I have felt as a mother and as a professional also is that when online sessions, when done within their limits in terms of a shorter duration, children will definitely learn better, because it is very different from watching a screen in terms of the kind of interaction what we have. When we do sessions, we have an online human interaction. So it is not something where the child is watching a screen character, where there is no interaction, there are no emotions. Your children have to interact, and it is something which is very difficult for a lot of people. So when it comes to screens, when the electronic media is available for children, I have always felt that a lot of kids have learned, especially kids whom I see, have also picked up a lot of skills only with online learning. So the online forum, when used with thoughtful moderation, can definitely create much more learning opportunities for children, because we do not want kids to be with the lockdown. I don't think the learning needs to stop, because learning goes lifelong. And what we have sensed as professionals as well as parents is that online learning or online teaching is not just about teaching or learning. It is a lot about understanding concepts of schedule, understanding concepts of having a structure, because otherwise children have no structure, especially when there were no schools. They have no schedule, there is no structure, there is no eating regularity, everything goes for a haywire. And I think we have a lot of other issues lined up post the lockdown, because this is the new normal, but you're going to have getting back to the new normal. So
Absolutely.
that is another challenge.
I would absolutely back everything that you mentioned, that while the online human interaction or the care which is required, even though if it may be through a digital platform, the children are going to learn exactly in the way you teach them. And while the content is important, it's the way you're communicating and putting it out there to them. And I've come across some of the work on your pages at the Zesty Movie for the people who've tuned in. Dr. Namita is here with us. That you've kept it very very simple, very gracious for people to come online, participate with you, and be a part of everything that's going on. Um, I also wanted to understand that you mentioned, and congratulations, you have a 4.5-year-old daughter, is what you mentioned. What's your parenting journey been like with her thus far? This is pre-COVID that I'm talking about, and what does the next 6 months, 1 year look like to you per se
So,
as a parent?
So, as a parent, what I have noticed is that the main focus has to be getting the life skills in place. And life skills are something which start the moment the child is born. So, as a parent, you need to focus on getting to the targets have to be simple. So, I had about three major targets. Target one is getting to put the toys back in place. That's a big struggle for most of the moms because you have one set of toys being played, the child moves on to the next step. That's one thing. Secondly, minimizing the screen time. So, in terms of screen time, as in use of non-human supervision. So, we're watching cartoons, we're watching series. So, restricting that's a very fatiguing topic for a lot of moms. You know, how do I restrict my child's screen time? And the third major is making my daughter busy with activities. So she does a lot of play. So a major part of her schedule happens through play. But the only thing is we need to spare out that time in terms of child-led play. So the definition of child-led play is the child chooses what he or she wants to play with.
Absolutely.
Rather than,
Yeah. Go ahead, please.
can you hear me well?
Yes, I can hear you. Yeah.
So what happens is most of the times it is the parent who initiates a lot of play related tasks. So let's play this. So it is more of the parent led scenario what we see presently. So the main focus what I believe of parents should be that the child should be able to initiate his or her play interests. And that's where a lot of child led play increases independence for the child because it is very difficult for a mother or for a father or for the grandparents, which is a nuclear family or a joint family, to keep the child occupied the whole day. So we as
Yeah.
professionals and parents have to work on initiating the children to let them play on their own. And whenever the children feel a need, the focus of the play task could be shifted where the parent could guide or assist the child. Because that really saves a lot of screen time because children are occupied. Because today, occupying children is a very Herculean task. And that is where the uh, yeah, so as Amit mentioned that we've got to
With
a
it
poem to
mentioning that he has
yeah
to
that,
sing a
that's true.
song.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so what I believe is that it doesn't matter. You use music, you use dance, you use singing, whatever it works. Till the time it is something, yes. And I believe that a lot of parenting happens with a lot of thought, as we call mindful parenting. So you do
Yeah.
tend to lose your cool over a point of time, but as a mother, I've always believed that if we are a good role model for our child, so as Sudha Murthy ma'am mentions that if you're going to read a book, your child is definitely going to like reading. It's as simple as that. So COVID-19 has taught me as a mother that I need to change myself first before I expect some change in my child. And I have to ensure that my child is able to do her activities, all her daily living activities. Let it be eating, dressing her up, having a bath. I think we have lots of time to spare because nobody is in a rush otherwise, as in to step out of the house. Although we might be in a rush because a lot of us are working online now. So, scheduling through daily activities because even if a child chooses to have a bath his or herself by on their own, I think that saves a lot of time for the parents and a lot of activities are happening at that time. So the child
Right.
has to hold a soap, try using how to put water either with a shower or with a handheld shower or with a bucket and the uh, using a concept of trying to dry himself or herself. So these are simple life skills which COVID-19 has given us a chance. So that's how the parenting journey has been, where children are comfortable in their own home environments because they can do things independently and they really like it because they are excelling at something. So rather than having a specific focus on academics, because academics will go on, it's never going to stop. But these skills will start getting more difficult for parents, and then they don't have that much of time to work with. Because
Yes.
post lockdown, everybody is going to be back to their own normal. So
Yes, yes. I
that
couldn't agree more with the points that you just made, and what a wonderful thought of focusing on life skills, because I think those will become the part of the growing years and will become part of the
correct.
strong foundations we're leaving them with. Uh, 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 I'm blessed personally with twin boys who've just turned 3, and
So you
I
have a
think
double struggle.
on the contrary, I think we've been very lucky to have 2 kids and an ecosystem around us where both of them are growing up beautifully. In fact, they surprise us with what they're doing, and I think it goes back to what kind of environment we create for them. I'm not saying I'm probably the best at doing that, but I think I keep myself patient, and so does my wife, and we're able to completely comprehend with what you're saying, that life skills is something we
Correct.
keep focusing on, because there's very limited screen time that you can offer them or what you can do otherwise, and they're going to be absolute reflection of what one does. Before we move ahead, I quickly wanted to welcome all the others who've joined in on live. Thank you so much for doing that. Mom Musings, Ethnic, Karan, Zen is here. Zen unfortunately couldn't do this today, but he's also joined us live. He's probably keeping an eye on how am I filling his shoes. Zen, I hope we're doing okay. Dr. Namita, we also wanted to understand you're a pediatrician, and you deal with children, otherwise, and you deal with more parents. I think a job of a pediatrician or something what a pediatrician does is more than dealing with children, it's dealing with parents. What are the
Yeah.
things that you're coming across? What are the kind of questions or myths or general worries that you're seeing in the new age parents who've tuned in now, who are going to see it later, and how can they deal with it? And I'm not restricting it only to COVID. It's generally just being with their children. So besides the usual that my child is not feeling well, I'm more referring to how parents are worried about, is my child doing okay, is he better than the other children, and things like that. Do those questions come up, and how do you deal with them, or is there something else that you want to share with the larger audience out here?
So today's parents, of course, they're much well informed because everybody has Googled up everything about the child before even they plan a child these days. But at the same time, what I have noticed is there is a lot of comparison which happens. So the moment it all starts with things like which gynecologist have you chosen, to which school do you wish to have, and on what basis, and what kind of curriculums, and the kind of competition which happens. But what, as a professional, what I have felt is that most of the parents should be worried about the emotional hygiene of their child more than anything else, because it really doesn't matter which board do you attend or which school do you attend, but at the end of it, even you might have about 1,000 friends around, but if you cannot communicate what you feel like, so that's where the concept of 3 a.m. friends, came in, where you actually have so much of access to technology, but you don't have somebody whom you can speak to. And all these things start from the childhood. So as a parent, what I would like to, more as a parent than as a professional, what I would like to suggest to parents is that focus on ensuring that your child is emotionally more stable. So the emotional health, differentiating what is appropriate and what is not appropriate, using the right kind of language, because language stimulation is something what a lot of us are miserably failing with. Children need to have the concept of free expression. That really doesn't come in, because the kind of exposure to language is tremendous, but what is appropriate to be picked out of it is something important. Also, we do see a lot of children with sensory deprivation. So the concept of sensory deprivation is children not being exposed to different textures. So there are kids who've never played in sand or in mud or with water, or who've never really crawled on the floor because the ground may be dirty. There are children who've never been given scissors because it might harm.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, these things really make a lot of difference. So everybody is only concerned about whether my child writes well or not in class.
Yeah.
Is my child able? Is my child a first always? So the concept of first and second is something which is very detrimental to our society, and unfortunately, we all are promoting it so much. So I do see a lot of kids who happen to be, more focused on, I have to be first. So this is something which was even difficult for me because my daughter once happened to say to somebody who's like a relative of ours, and she blatantly just opened her mouth and said, "Oh, you're a loser now." So for a 4-year-old child to use a word like loser is something which you really pick up, and it's very surprising. But kids today are much more smarter than we were. So you really need to go back and talk it out. At does what is it like to be a loser? So I actually asked her, "Do you know what it is?" So she's like, "Yeah, somebody who doesn't win." So that's where you really get the concept of winning and losing. So to instill a positive concept, it can't be like you go on to a screaming or a yelling or a spanking mode, because that really doesn't have an end result. The only result is the child starts retaliating, where the tantrums start in. So the major focus then shifted from winners and losers to concepts of trying to get the activity done in the best way. So if you want to win, there is nothing like winning or losing. It's all about how amazingly good have you done it with your focus in that activity. And that's where the concept of first and last started gradually reducing, because the focus then is that I have to. So we need to get our children to be happy or to understand the process and not the product. That's something which we really, and I think as parents, if we can do that, I mean, we have to learn to appreciate the nature of the effort of the child, and how like, for example, a child has colored something really nicely according to his or her level, but you say, "Oh, that's really not great," So I don't think that's pretty demoralizing for a child, that he or she is not going to like that. So focus on appreciating how much effort has the child put in. And I think they all like that, because children today are looking for appreciation.
Absolutely. In fact, again, the thoughts that you're sharing here with a larger audience. Me and my social circles, we often talk about this, and we completely understand. And that's where somewhere where Kids OK Please was born, where we spoke about giving our children marvelous childhoods. And it begins with this very thing, how we're taking care of the emotional hygiene of the children. And these smaller activities make all the difference. Also, I would like to correct myself while we are on air, that I called you a pediatrician, but you're a pediatric occupational therapist. And for the larger audience, they help with the physical and mental recuperation, using activities and therapies in the right way. And the beautiful part is that Dr. Namita is during pandemic, where she probably the personal one-on-one sessions would be far lesser, or restricted only to a digital platform. She's created fantastic activities which are imparting what she does on her page, and some of them are listed with us, some of them are listed on other platforms as well, and one can definitely be a part of that. So I came across that one of the things that you had yesterday was, I think it was done earlier this week, which was the Play-Doh disco.
Oh yeah, that's like.
It sounds very, very interesting. Could you tell us a little bit
and
about
it is very interesting.
Yeah, could you tell us what
So,
that was? And,
yeah, so when I did this, so this was done in my daughter's school, and it's basically the Play-Doh. So if you don't even have, so COVID-19 has taught you that if you don't have one thing, how do you replace it? So everybody's become like a quick master with stuff. So even if you don't have clay at home, you can take your atta, knead it, you can take maida, knead it with a little bit of water, and you just have it in your hand. So Play-Doh disco is basically use of the hands through different physical activities. But then they have a concept of what is like a song. So they couple the activities with a song where the child needs to look at the activity and listen to the song together. So they have to copy actions, listen to music, and do activities with their hand using the Play-Doh. So that really helps children to develop hand skills because that's the easiest way. So some of the parents who and the kids who really participated were very happy with the fact that such a simple Play-Doh can be used in a variety of ways, and kids loved it because the songs which we choose also are the ones with real children. So there's no cartoon character involved. One. Secondly, their hand movements. So that can be done even at home. They need a very less space. And we are going to have a generation of children who are going to have much better hand skills. Because what we see is today kids don't really have good hand strength because they eat with a spoon or they also would be fed by their parents. But everybody expects kids to write early. So that's a major criteria. And that's a big discrimination against kids which have always felt that if we want our kids to write, let them work for themselves.
Yeah.
Because naturally handwriting issues tremendously reduce because our kids are given a pencil or a crayon at a much younger age of 2 years when ideally the age is about 4.5 years. So I think India is the only country in the world where kids write the earliest. And that is why we are having a lot of kids with handwriting issues because many a times our kids are not ready. But the parents, out of sheer pressure of the schools, and see, everybody is here with a thought. Schools want to have the best standard, but at the same time, there are very few schools who go very easy with the handwriting aspect. So, Play-Doh disco is a very good concept for any parent to incorporate in their child's lifestyle because that is something which can be done in school, it can be done at home, it can be done in the playground, anywhere. So kids really enjoy. So as a mother and as a professional, I'm constantly in search of such kind of concepts for kids, which are simple, easy for parents to do at home, and they can do it even without supervision. I mean, until unless the child is not mouthing the clay. But most of the times we do recommend parents to do most of the activities with supervision because some kids can be super geniuses. So they can try to do something which might not be socially acceptable.
Fair enough. I think that's a very valid point, and it sounds very interesting. I think we're also going to try participating with the disco dough at some point of time. I also came across your thoughts around sensory play and brain aerobics. Can you tell me a little more about that, please?
So a lot of sensory play happens. Like we have a lot of kids now who are not very comfortable with textures. Like being a lot of kids don't eat fruits. They do not like brushing their teeth. They do not like to chew. So that is where it is all related to the kind of textures what they are exposed to. So many times we expect a child to eat something which we feel, but as a parent or as an adult, would you like to pick up an object and feel it, or would you prefer if somebody just puts it in your mouth? So it's definitely not the second one. I would love to explore the texture with my hand or maybe smell it and then decide if I'm going to put it in my mouth, because the mouth is a very sensitive structure. Children might learn to dislike tastes very fast. So there is a lot of that answers the question of a lot of children eating sweets during the lockdown, because so actually Cadbury India sales have increased, like they must have tripled, I presume, because that's the only product which is like roaring, other than ice creams, of course. So ice creams weren't initially available during the first half of the lockdown, but chocolates have been eternal, and all kids are totally hooked onto chocolates, because so there is a reason for why kids love chocolates, because the sweet taste is on the tip of our tongue. So the moment the sweet food goes in, they immediately pick up the taste. Whereas other tastes are much at the end of the tongue. So if you notice that we want kids to develop a concept of using textures. So it can be anything like using food to eat, And that is why I encourage a lot of parents, at the moment your child is about 6 months and you started with foods which are soft, let them explore the food, let them eat it, because our country, especially the parents, are obsessed with cleanliness. So if a food item falls down, oh, this is dirty, you can't pick it up. Oh, this is dirty, his hands have become dirty, just wash it off. So most of the kids don't play with clay, they don't play with water, they don't play with paints. And if you notice that the Western world picked it up from India and now they're going great guns, because the Western world has laid so much of focus on sensory play that they have a significantly lesser number of children with issues of textures, or so they do, but the thing is they have picked up our ideas and then they have made it into amazing patterns of play. So the need for sensory play starts the moment the baby is about 4 to 6 months. That's what I would like to recommend to parents, because that again boils down to one thing. Finally, children, because the only aim of all the parents, I mean not all of them, but quite many of them, sorry for that, but is that my child should be able to write. Yeah, because most of the parents whom I meet are that my child is not writing. So I think if you want your child to write, let your child use your hands. That's one thing. Another thing, a lot of kids have attention issues these days. They can't really focus for a longer duration. And I'm sure all those parents whose kids have online sessions will definitely agree that my child doesn't sit at one place for long. So the question is that how to keep children alert. The reason being that television and electronic media are passive mediums. The video goes on and on and on. YouTube keeps on playing one after the other, and there are some videos which go on a loop. So a lot of kids will be watching the same video again and again. So if you notice that kids will like to sing to any songs much easier. So they pick up Bollywood, they pick up nursery rhymes. But when you ask them to follow some instructions, they really find it difficult. So brain aerobics is mainly about using your brain to pay attention to what is happening around you. So when I ask a lot of kids, can you tell me 3 things which are in the shape of a circle? So they will say, this is a bottle which is in the shape of a circle. There might be a, so they look at a clock maybe, or they might look at a plate. So imagination is something which a lot of kids find it difficult. Your own body awareness, your eyes are in the shape of a circle. So when I told this to one child, he actually went to the mirror to check whether his eyes were in the shape of a circle or no. So we need to understand that how do you teach concepts, or how do you develop concepts more than teaching, because you can't teach everything. You need to develop concepts in children. So when you are introducing the concept of 1, so we normally have the numbers first. So you're going to say, so they introduce it by showing number 1. Well, a child doesn't associate a number as an image. They associate it with a quantity. So this is 1. The number 1 has no meaning for them. So if you say 1, 2, 3, 4, children might not understand. So what is 1 in your body? So you have 1 nose, you have 1 mouth. That's where they associate the concept of quantity. So even the concept learning has to be integrated in their lives through a very conscious medium. It can't be just randomly taught, because we all have to join the rat race. That's the thing. So activities which challenge your brain are something which parents need to do in COVID-19, because that's when children would develop interest. And even with online learning sessions, most of the schools are doing quite a fabulous job for the younger kids, where there's a lot of art, there is dance, there are crafts, and children are readily enjoying those things, because it's all done with a lot of effort. So hats off to all the teachers of our country who've taken this COVID-19 to ensure that the learning is uninterrupted. So it's been really amazing with the kind of efforts. And I think our efforts are simply minuscule, because a lot of teachers have actually gone back to learning how to make a presentation, how to understand to use Google Meets or Zoom or Instagram, whatever they have needed to do it from their side. So these are simple workshops to encourage parents to develop insights into how to try to get to work with things or how to play with your child, because nowadays even playing is an art, not everybody can do that.
True. Absolutely. No, so firstly, I want to say all the teachers who that all the teachers who joined into the session or are going to have a look at it. I know some of them have a big hello to them. You guys have done a fantastic job of quickly turning the curriculum around and imparting knowledge through the digital medium. And while one is going to try and understand how much screen time, how the curriculum will take place, I think as parents we need to continuously invest into our child's well-being and
Correct.
learning through this medium, the new medium that we're talking about, online tutorials or classwork that's been given and handing over, is going to be as good as taking new steps. Or the first steps for that matter. That would continue. A lot of people have joined in, a lot of friends. I think a lot of people who follow you, Dr. Namita, here. One of them, Rain Showers, is the name, and did mention that we've got storybooks about tasks, and our son learns from it. They've created a storybook or they're using a storybook which has tasks in it, and they're using it to teach their son something around it. That brings me to a very pertinent question, which a lot of parents are now thinking about. What are your thoughts about homeschooling? And do you think that this is going to be a trend which a lot of parents may want to consider? Although we understand that there's a huge process to get to go through before you can actively homeschool your children, at least in India. So, what are your thoughts around that trend?
So actually, I had done an Instagram live session with a very good friend of mine on homeschooling. So actually, there's a difference between homeschooling and home learning or home teaching. Okay, so homeschooling is basically, the concept is a child who has never been to school ever, or who has been to school but is now exclusively being taught or is learning at home. So right now what we're focusing on is home teaching or home learning. Because homeschooling, it might sound very rude. So my friend who does it, who's homeschooling her 9-year-old son, says that it is a way of life.
Absolutely.
So we are never going to put our kids in school. It might not be maybe this year, no, but next year, of course, because when you are going to learn a curriculum, it is simply not easy. So a lot of parents who think about making their child integrate the school's curriculum at home also need to understand that there is the first major thing what you need to do is research. For a 4-year-old child or a 5-year-old child, what are the developmental skills which are needed? So you need to actually go back and see how much of effort a teacher puts in, or a school puts in, or the board puts in to decide the curriculum. Because curriculum planning can take anything from 3 months to 6 months to a year also.
Yes.
Because you have to keep each and every concept in mind. Are we going to be focusing on real life skills? Are we focusing on concept learning? Or are we focusing on pure academics? Like a lot of parents who believe like worksheets are the in thing, So I teach a child a concept and immediately give a worksheet. So does that mean the child is learning? So learning occurs in every form. If as a parent you are going to look for learning, you first need to be clear about what your child knows or what your child does not know. Because all this while the teacher knows how much the child knew. Yes. The parent does not know until unless the parent can actually sit and investigate or ask. So as one of the parents mentioned here, that storybooks. So the earlier you start reading to your child, and it can be as young as 2.5 to 3 months also. So I started reading to my daughter when she was about 2.5 months. So a lot of, even my own family found it very weird that what does your child understand? But all those who believe in Garbha Sanskar, Well, I'm a very firm believer in that. As a mother, when you feel that there's a lot of understanding about concepts, even in the uterus, the baby can understand it. Well, science has proven that the baby's eyes blink when there's a very bright source of light being focused on the womb. So, what we believe is that the earlier you introduce reading to children, they might not understand the words in terms of reading per se, but a lot of times their listening skills improve. Because you can't suddenly get up one day and say, okay, I'm going to start making my child do activities. It's like a lifelong process. As learning is a lifelong process, it is always essential that as a parent you read out, because reading aloud creates a lot of imagination, it creates attention, it creates patience. Children will actually sit. That is why the concept of bedtime stories came. So that's when kids were really happy listening to a story, and that was very calming for them, so they actually went to sleep quite well. And that is a very good time to bond with your child, because learning is not just from a school or from home, it happens everywhere.
No,
So the
I
earlier
would.
you read.
I completely. In fact, we also started very very early with our children. I think this happened earlier this week when on Coffee and Childhood we had a parent, a single mother, the owner of Fun Factory, and her name is Crystal D'Souza. She's homeschooled her daughter. She's turning now. She's turning 14 now, and she spoke about her journey and how hard it was. While we absolutely understand that COVID has led to a lot of home learning, home teaching in a sense, but homeschooling as a trend is something which parents want to know more about, and I think people are doing a lot of research, and we see that as a major trend in the years to come. Given the fact that the real estate around education as an industry is so expensive, and the finally the consumer, which is the parents, end up paying a lot more money, and there's nothing wrong in it because no one's doing charity out here. But given that our infrastructure is just developing and the number of children who need to be a part of the entire ecosystem are just too many, it is going to be tough, and the demand supply gap is going to lead to more money being asked at that level, because everyone wants to give the best to their children. So we are bringing this up constantly in all our forums, and glad to hear your thought that while learning has to happen in every form and on a regular basis. Parents need to be mindful of what decisions they're taking for their children, because some parents may want to focus on simply putting the school as a norm, that yes, my child has to go to a school, they have to do these things, only then he or she is going to be successful. So it completely will depend from that perspective. Dr. Namita, before I take questions from the audience, and I'd request anyone who's live and they want to throw in questions, they can prepare themselves, and I'm going to open that up very quickly. While we have the privilege of having you on live session right now, I wanted to understand more from the perspective of what are the things that you intend to do in future, that you are currently conducting a lot of these class. You're interacting with so many parents. What is the next thing that we should look forward to from Dr. Namita, and the Zesty Mommy? What are plans for that? If you could tell the audiences also your
So the
Instagram page.
primary focus, what the Zesty Mommy is mainly working on right now, is we are collaborating with a lot of Indian manufacturers of toys, books, materials. It could be worksheets, it could be simple educational aids or materials which you can use at home. And we're trying to collaborate with them to get a lot of them, so that the whole nation comes to know that India does have a lot of made in India companies who cater to the Indian population, especially children. So that is where the Zesty Mommy is taking utmost efforts, that from different parts of the country, so be it from Bengaluru, from Gujarat, from Mumbai, from Rajasthan, from New Delhi, So all the different states, we're trying to get in collaborators with us who can showcase their products on the forum, and we could use this forum for parents to know about the Indian products. And the aim is that since the Made in India campaign is running so high, so that was one major struggle, because now we have to completely focus on Made in India toys. So a major focus has been urging parents to buy wooden educational material rather than investing in cheap plastic, which might not be appropriate for our environment, and also to make our kids understand, because simply showing them educational concepts of not to use plastic or how harmful plastic is, and after that the child ends up drinking the water from a plastic bottle. So the focus has to be more on getting our children to understand that this is a Made in India product. It is durable, it is sturdy, it has good quality, and we do have a lot of manufacturers or a lot of children educational products, or even materials for that matter, even clothing, so that we are a completely Made in India functional country. That's one focus. And the second major focus is on incorporating social skills. So our children need to have effective social skills, because post the pandemic, a lot of kids would be extremely shy to meet new people, because there's going to be again a complete change. It's been almost 3 months or maybe more. We don't know when the schools will open, and I'm sure a lot of kids will be shy until unless they regularly meet online. However, we still have to follow the norms of maintaining distance. And unfortunately, kids are not like adults. They don't think before they greet someone or maybe hug someone. See, we're quite reserved
Yeah.
because we have developed a personality. Kids at this age might not be, they're instinctual. So they're just going to hug. So the new normal is going to change a lot of understanding of social interaction. So my focus as a professional and also as a parent is developing effective social skills, and there's a course rolling off in the month of July where we will be incorporating these skills for kids to understand. So it's a course for kids, which the parents of course can learn a lot from it, and we still are not aware of when the schools would open, but we're really looking at having a good generation of kids who will be emotionally more stable post the pandemic. So that's the major focus right now.
So also, before we open up the forum for questions to come in from the audience, how does your contribution to this entire ecosystem work towards kids who are specially able and or probably the kids who cannot have the privilege of participating with the sessions that you do? Are you recording your sessions and are you keeping it available?
So, since almost 3 months, we've been having regular sessions with kids with special needs, especially the ones who have been coming to the center but unfortunately cannot come anymore. So, the kids who are comfortable, we initially started with a shorter duration of sessions, and then we gradually increased the duration. For kids who find it extremely difficult to focus, what we do is we educate the parents about how to do the sessions, and then the parents could demonstrate to us what they've been doing. But the advantage of the pandemic has been that there are children from all over the country who can now directly access just with a laptop or a mobile phone, where they can have consultation services, and we are focusing on ensuring that maximum children can avail of these benefits as much as possible. So there has also been a scope of, because of the economic crisis, we've also provided concessions for these parents, because the major focus is that if a parent wishes to do something for their child, I think we can definitely offer our share of contribution through some or the other form. So that is something what we're trying, and a lot of professionals are also trying to work out the same.
Yes.
So we do have clients from all over the country, because the awareness now being much more, the parents want to put in that extra effort.
Absolutely. I think our focus at Kids OK Please is also going to be towards creating opportunities, such opportunities, and bringing contributors like yourself closer to the specially able, to the lesser privileged, in the best way possible. Also, to ensure that as a platform, we continue to engage at a larger level and bring parents closer to concepts which you are propagating and things like that. I have now opened this up for questions. We already have the first one that's coming in from Neha. Before I read out the question, welcome and thank you for everyone to join in out here. There is Shadab, there's Simran, there is Kunal Malhotra, there's Preet Wadhwa. Thank you for participating. You can obviously catch this on IGTV a little later. And sorry if I've missed out some names. The question that Neha has out here is, does having a pet in the house help in child development? And if yes, in what ways? What are your thoughts about it, Dr. Namita? I guess there's some network issue. I think I think she's back.
Yeah,
Yes.
so yeah. The having a pet definitely helps. If you have a dog, so it also depends on the nature of the pet. So a dog is really it's not just because dogs is man's pet animal, but dogs do have a lot of insight with things. They can sense the well-being of an individual, and medical science has proven it because dogs are being trained both in our country as well as abroad for identifying individuals who might be at risk of a mental illness, individuals with visual impairments, people who have hearing loss, people who have seizures, because you can train dogs, and then they are dogs who are specialized. So there are specific breeds of dogs who really help. The most advantageous thing is that having a pet is that pets are non-demanding. So the child is able to connect to a pet in a much more way, because even though they cannot verbalize in terms of human language, but the understanding is much more. So it is always recommended that if you can have the feasibility of having a pet, it definitely works. Yes, but do you need to have that additional resources which are needed for maintaining the hygiene, as well as having a lot of other concerns also in terms of vaccinations, and especially in the pandemic, the government has been extremely supportive in ensuring that the pet shops have remained open consistently, because a lot of
Yes.
people who have pets have had major difficulties. So one of the major pet whom we always recommend, and that is the concept of by an animal assisted therapy. That is where dogs who are trained to work with children with special needs has come into play. And there are a lot of animal assisted therapists in our country who provide children assistance of a pet whenever needed. So because touching a pet animal is very calming for the mind, children are much more calm, they pay much more attention when a pet is around.
Fantastic, fantastic. There's a question I've received from my team actually. Tomorrow is Father's Day, and as a professional, as someone working in this space, is there if there's one thing that you'd like to tell all the fathers that this is what they should do, when it comes to children, what would be that one advice which you would like to give to them?
So I think fathers have a bigger struggle. They need to pitch in for their role, because it is always mothers only. There are never fathers. So the reason being that a lot of fathers are not very vocal. They tend to shield off their emotions, which mothers don't. So you'll rarely see a father crying. Mothers might cry at a drop of a hat. Mothers will say, "Oh my God, how much am I doing for my child?" But the father doesn't do anything. And it is not that the role of a father should be undermined. So a lot of women say that my husband doesn't even know which grade is my child in, what is happening in my child's school. But at the same time, we need to understand the fact that in our country, the major economic burden, not a major, almost a very large part of it has been taken by men. Because the classical Indian custom of, that the man is the sole earning member of the family. So I think with that burden, the Indian fathers have been so overburdened with that stress that moving on to something else is extremely difficult. So it's not that fathers don't play or fathers don't have time, but the kind of challenges which the Indian fathers have been facing, also because let's say that the mothers also have taken a lot of onus for everything.
I think Dr. Namita was sharing an important point, so just hang in. There's some network issue. I want to hear more about this for the people who just tuned in. Yes.
We talk of equality in our country, the fathers and the mothers have to take equal responsibility. And I think that starts from the school itself, because a lot of teachers have insisted these days that both parents should come to the meeting, not just one. Because otherwise you'll end up only the mother coming. So so a lot of mothers, working mothers, complain that why should I take a concession and why should I only go for my child thing? And a lot of women then feel that it is only about the mothers, and the fathers don't really contribute. It's not that they don't contribute, but at the same time, that equality has to be surfaced on a larger aspect.
Would you say
I think a lot of mothers,
the dads have to be a little more vocal about and more expressive about what they're doing?
True, because as a mother, if I have to be, so if my husband is being with my daughter, so I am going to be extra microscopic, with that vision that how are you doing this? Is it correctly done?
So, having said that, I'll take the point on behalf of all the dads that we need to be a lot more vocal and expressive. And
because what happens is that the Father's Day never gets so much of coverage. I think this year has got a big coverage, all thanks to Instagram.
Well, yes, and I know my team was running a contest where we were asking all fathers to put up a picture with their child that invokes the best emotion out of them, whether the day they were born or any other day. And the next live chat is going to feature one of the fathers who's been expressive about it. Well, we've got a lot more, most of the people who had tuned in earlier to tune back. So, before we, if there are any other questions, we request the audience to throw them in right now before we end today's live chat. While that's going on, Dr. Namita wanted to know that what do you think about Kyoke? And while the concept revolves around making the city more child friendly and giving marvelous childhoods to your children by way of simply accessing what we have to offer online and offline by way of events. When we say Kids Okay Please, what does it come to your mind? What's been your experience with us so far, and what would you like to tell us?
So, Kids Okay Please has been a forum where I felt that there's a lot. That's one thing. The conversations have been with people who are extremely realistic with the kind of thoughts what they have about child development. So we're looking at a generation of people who are more open about how the childhood of children of our country should be, and it should have a very unconventional twist in terms of positive play. There has to be a lot of freedom of expression. Children need to have a protected zone. However, at the same time, there has to be freedom of choosing how to vocalize what they would like to do. And when this forum invites parents or professionals, it also creates a loop of positivity, which is needed both for the parents, because that's how they're going to pass it to the children. So this forum has been really encouraging, has been an encouraging platform for parents to look forward to, because parents are they're constantly looking for something new, and they need something which is positive rather than criticizing somebody's parenting style, which is extremely inappropriate, because we don't really know which shoes everybody's fitting into. So you can't ever fit in somebody's shoes. Maybe you could just place yourself there. So Kids Okay Please actually itself, the title itself says that okay, the kids really need their time. So
yeah,
that's
I mean,
that's where it is.
Well, thank you for the appreciation that you've thrown towards us. I think for the larger audience and for Dr. Namita as well, while we are trying to create this product called Kids OK Please. It's going to be a mobile application whereby once you log in, just like any other club around you, you can take a membership. And once you become a member, you can see that what experiences are taking place around you, what are the child-friendly places around you, and how some of these brands and places can help engage your child better, so that the parenting or the entire burden of parenting is shared by the community around us. And we hope to do that very, very soon. We hope that we can interact with more children, more parents, more professionals like yourself in our journey. And we'll continue to do a lot of work and host some of your sessions on Kids
I'll be
OK
more
Please,
than
and
happy to
help
do
you
that. It's
amplify
a
it.
pleasure.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you once again for your time on a Saturday afternoon. Leaving you with a wonderful weekend ahead, and thank you for everyone
Thank you so much.
who've joined in, tuned in right now, and who'll probably listen to this a little later.
Yeah,
This
thank you
is
all of you all who joined us.
Yes. Thanks, Zen, for giving me the opportunity to fill in. He's going to be back next week for you guys again, and looking forward to a lot more fun sessions and informative chats like these. Thank you once again, Dr. Namita. Pleasure.
Thank you
Pleasure.
so much. Thank you. Thank you. Bye.